This is David Provost recording my Pathfinder presentation. I hope you enjoy it. Sorry for the microphone quality. I hope you have a better microphone for the next presentation, but this will have to do for now. The topic I've chosen for this Pathfinder is animal welfare. I originally chose it as sort of a broad topic, but it turns out it's really too broad for a Pathfinder with this sort of scope, so I've narrowed it down to alternatives to animal testing, which is an important component of animal welfare and is particularly of interest to the audience I hope to target with this Pathfinder. And there's sort of a multifaceted audience here. First, beginning veterinary students, so students who are just now starting their veterinary career and thinking about maybe what areas they would like to get into. Veterinary paraprofessionals, so that would be veterinary nurses, veterinary assistants, laboratory assistants, and other folks working in the field who may be looking to improve their knowledge. And practicing veterinarians who either by result of a career change or by finding themselves involved in a research project might need to learn this information all over again. So there's a couple different factors to this. First is that we need to include some introductory information, sort of what do I need to know type stuff, what is important, what is out there, what is required, but also there's some more practical information. The folks that are going to be learning about this and doing these searches are people who are working on a specific project, a specific experiment, and they're going to need to tailor their searching and their information leads to that project, and then once they begin a new project, they'll have a whole new set of needs, so we need to really teach them how they can find the information going forward. So first, a little background about animal welfare in general. Animal welfare generally refers to the well-being of animals, particularly animals that are in the care of or whose lives are significantly impacted by humans and human activity. The typical, often quoted definition: the welfare of an individual is its state as regards its attempts to cope with its environment. That's by Donald Broom. And animal welfare includes the physical, mental, and behavioral health of an animal, and refers specifically to the state of the animal as opposed to the treatment or care that the animal receives. The modern concept of animal welfare dates back to the 19th century with passage of animal welfare laws in British Parliament and the founding of the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. The American Society, the ASPCA, was founded shortly thereafter, and the first federal animal welfare law in the U.S. was the 1966 Animal Welfare Act, signed by then President Johnson, and it's been amended several times since then. It governs the prevention of cruelty to animals, wildlife conservation, hunting and fishing regulations, and more. The Act created the Animal Welfare Information Center within the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the Act mandates consideration of alternatives to laboratory animals and prohibits duplication of existing research. This mandate requires folks who are involved in the field to have some literature search techniques at their disposal, so I hope to help with that. Those alternatives are typically defined by the 3 R's: replacement, substituting other systems for lab animal use. That can include plastic models, tissue cultures, and computer simulations. Reduction, so decreasing the number of animals needed to get accurate data. That can be achieved with careful experimental planning and knowledge of statistics. And refinement, using modern techniques, treatments, and husbandry to reduce distress and increase overall welfare. The resource I want to talk about is one I mentioned just a few moments ago. The Animal Welfare Information Center, as created by the Animal Welfare Act, has a fantastic website within the USDA's website. It's really useful. It's really well organized. It's really clear. It does a great job of sourcing its information and laying it out clearly. You can see the navigation on the left-hand side there. One of the things I wanted to really focus on is that subheading for alternatives literature searching. It goes into some detail about how to best search the literature for the variety of things that researchers are going to need. It includes some sample searches, as well as giving sort of more detailed instructions and guidance. It also includes a section of databases. You can see the link there. It talks about what sort of databases are out there for people doing this sort of research, and it breaks them down into several categories, from agriculture to education to veterinary medicine. And you can see that I've clicked through to the veterinary medicine section here. There's, I think, 7 or 8 databases cited here. The big ones, of course, Scopus and PubMed, but several other more niche ones on things like pharmacology and toxicology are also listed there as well. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is the section on institutional animal care and use committees, or IACUC. These organizations are required at any institution that does animal testing, and it can be a fairly complicated and regulated practice. And so it's helpful to have this sort of information in a centralized place where folks who serve on these committees can access it and sort of know about their responsibilities and about ways to best perform their jobs. Some of the other resources I hope to look at include some web-based resources like Johns Hopkins University's AltWeb. The World Organization for Animal Health is a great website. The IACUC Central is operated by the American Academy of Laboratory Animal Science. And then the National Library of Medicine has a website called AltBib, and that is really a sort of Pathfinder of its own, all about this topic. And I hope to dig into that a little bit more. There are several journals that are really relevant, including these 3 and several others. The Journal of Applied Animal Welfare Science, Animal Welfare, the journal, and APLA, which is a British journal, stands for Alternatives to Laboratory Animals. There are also a lot of books out there. Some of the more recent ones that I've looked at briefly to this point, The Care and Feeding of an IACUC, which is a great title for a book all about how to operate and manage one of those committees. The IACUC Handbook is sort of an official publication of the USDA. Laboratory Animal Welfare is sort of a general textbook on the subject. And a couple of books that are sort of more aimed at lay people, Veterinary Ethics, Animal Experimentation, and Animals in Society. Those are all quite popular at the Library of Veterinary Medicine where I work. And they talk about different sort of aspects of animal welfare and animal experimentation. And then a couple of books on statistics that are also well used around the library. One called Statistics for People Who Think They Hate Statistics, and another Statistics for Veterinary and Animal Science. Those are both rigorous and useful books, but they're written sort of not from a mathematician's perspective, but from a scientist's perspective, or even from a veterinary perspective, and can be very useful for folks who need to know about that sort of stuff and really manage their statistical experimentation planning, but maybe they're not, mathematicians. So thank you very much for listening to this presentation. I hope you'll check out the Pathfinder once it's available, and I will talk to you later.